Is the screen visible? Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am. It's visible, ma'am.
Yes. So, a very good evening to everyone in the board. So, I'm going to start with introduction to research methodology, where I'll be covering this thing, covering the research design, part of research, and something related to exploratory and descriptive research. But I'll begin with what is research actually. So, research, if we see the name, you can in between, stop and ask me, whatever questions you want. If you have any questions, you can always ask me. This is just the protocol which I am following. So, what do we mean by research? Research, it's a search for knowledge in simple words. It is something covering which has not been covered earlier, right? So, if we want to see the definition, it's a careful inquiry in through the search of new facts, because maybe through research some new facts come, right? I'll give you the example of online shopping. When I started my own research, that time even the Amazon had not entered the Indian market, but there were two ways, right? One is the existing theories and existing models I should work. But then I spoke to people when I, went to into the market and asked people what is it that forces you to, that encourages you to go for online shopping. I'm talking about the way back to 2012, right? So, so they said, ki, okay, it's pay on delivery, it's cash on delivery mode of payment, right? So again, but cash on delivery mode of payment was nowhere being studied, right? So in our Indian scenario or in the developing country context, something emerged as cash on delivery bhi hai kuch cheez, right? It's something, cash on delivery mode of payment, which is encouraging us to shop online. So here I included it as a construct, uh, cash on delivery construct or a variable, which you have been, I think you must be aware of what is variable and what is construct by now. So, but initially it was lot of rejections, right? Because again, when we send our paper to SSCI journals, or when we send our papers to some Scopus index journals which are located in the foreign, and they say, okay, what is this cash on delivery? It has got no literature backing, but it had something which came out. So then I started building up the context and going for the qualitative research, and then it came out fine. Cash on delivery mode of payment is one construct which I have established. Same is the telemedicine adoption, right? We talk about the existing models, right? We see existing models like TAM is there, UTOT is there. There are certain models, but no one even tries to go into the market and ask you, okay, what is it? What is that, which hinders you from using telehealth? Why, the people still, they are hesitant, of telehealth or telemedicine, and they prefer going to the doctors. So reason is, again, that is search for the knowledge. I'll give you the example of one of my students who worked on telemedicine adoption. So when we went into the market, when we spoke with the people, when we spoke with the doctors, when we spoke with the patients, they said we feel lack of emotional connect, right? So lack of emotional connect or emotional disconnect, again, it's something new, right? Someone will say security, privacy, that's not that hardly matters nowadays, because it's a day of where technology is already adopted, and it's just the penetration of the technology, right? So while doing the research, it came out that telemedicine adoption may, there is one construct known as emotional disconnect, which needs to be studied widely, right? So again, this is one thing which is like a careful inquiry to the search for new facts, and another is comprising, or which comprises of defining and redefining the problem and going ahead, right? Let's say a problem is already there, there is but then you study that problem in Indian context, right? So that is, you're defining and redefining the problem and moving ahead while formulating the hypothesis. So here, the in nutshell, research is a process of systematic inquiry where there is collection of data, documentation, analysis, and that too in accordance with the suitable methodologies. Research is conducted to evaluate the validity of a hypothesis, and to understand the knowledge, right? So, is that clear? Shall I proceed? Shall I move ahead? Shall I proceed for the next slide? Shall I proceed? I mean, you people
Yes,
are
ma'am.
okay. Now, criteria for the good research is that, first of all, the purpose of the research should be defined. Research procedure used should be described in sufficient detail. Then procedural design, which we call as research design, that should be carefully planned. Because you see, I narrate a story here to my students whenever I take the class. That is, have you heard the story of a seahorse and again a whale? So what happened? There was a seahorse. He had 8 cents with him. So one day he decided to find his fortune, right? So he went ahead, dived deep, and found a starfish. Starfish said, "Okay, where are you going?" So the seahorse said, "I'm going to find my fortune." So what the starfish said, she said, "Okay, fine. You do one thing. You are moving very slow. You take my, this scooter from me and give me 4 cents." So Seahorse said, "Okay, fine. I'll give you 4 cents, and I'll walk on the scooter." So he dived again, did in full speed, and found a octopus over there. Then when octopus said, "Hey, where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to find my fortune." So, "Well, you mean you must be hungry? You do one thing. You give me 2 cents and get some food from me." So he said, "Okay, fine. Give me take these 2 cents and give me food." So he gave, the food to that the seahorse. Then he moved, and but again he couldn't find his fortune. Again he moved, and then ultimately he found one, this let's say dolphin. The dolphin said, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to find my fortune." So dolphin said, "Okay, do one thing. Take this jet propeller. It will, when some you will see when some enemy coming over there, just press it, and you will, it will propel the water, and your enemy will be, diversified." So he said, "But give me 2 cents for this." So he lost all his 4 cents and buying the scooter, then again, food, and then propeller, and then he moved again. Suddenly he found a whale over there. So whale said, "Okay, where are you going?" So he said, "I'm going to find my fortune." So she said, "Okay, fine, do one thing. Your fortune is inside my mouth." So she opens her big mouth, and you just get into it, and you will get your fortune. So here again, the seahorse, without thinking, jumped into the mouth of the whale. So this is how the research is, because if the design is not clear, then you will end up somewhere else, right? So entire thing will go futile. You will be moving here and there. You will be, your data collection will be wrong, and ultimately, at the end of the day, the objectives which you have fulfilled for your, which you have, framed for your research, they won't be fulfilled. So, for fulfilling the objectives, carefully planned research design has to be there, right? And a researcher should report with complete frankness and flaws. Flaws means the limitations of your research, which you need to report, right? Then again, analysis of the data, which should be sufficiently adequate to reveal its significance. And anyone, what is the difference between reliability and validity? I'm talking about the reliability and validity of the data should be checked carefully. So, what do you mean by reliability and validity? Anyone can unmute and answer, or you can write in the chat box if you are not able to speak. What is the difference between reliability and validity? Okay. Uh, so reliability is, how reliable is your research, right? How reliable, if let's say if it is a questionnaire design, so how reliable it is. If you have designed a questionnaire, let's say for something like impact of this AI on Gen AI, Gen AI on the students. So if your instrument is used after 10 years, whether it is going to give the same results, whether it is reliable. And validity is whether your constructs are measuring what actually you want to measure, right? Let's say your this thing, your questionnaire is, your objective is to measure the customer satisfaction with respect to smartwatches, but your questionnaire should have the questions of smartwatches, right? Let's say you want to measure the memorable tourism experiences, but your questionnaire or your scale or your something questionnaire which you have designed, that should include the questions on memorable tourism experiences. Let's say it's not in it, it should include the questions on some other construct like vicarious nostalgia or place attachment or something like that. So that is, reliability is how reliable is your instrument or experiment, even if it is conducted after 10 years. And well, it is whether it is actually measuring what it's supposed to measure, right? And conclusions, they should also be confined to those justified by the data. So this is a nutshell, because it's not very heavy, your research process, because you start with a question, you start with a curiosity, you have the data for this, you synthesize the data, then synthesize the data means you actually process the data in the light of the question which you have framed, that gives you the information, and finally you go for the conclusions and recommendations. So this is the entire research process. I'm not covering the, starting with the problem identification, then research design, then questionnaire, then so many things. So this is a very, short research process. You start with a question, you come with the data, you analyze the data, you get the information, and that gives you the conclusion and recommendation. Yeah, this is only the research, right? So when we call about the research designs or the types of research, we have basic, applied, exploratory, conclusive. I'll be taking in detail in the next slides. So first of all, we need to know the what is the type of research. Basic research, the basic premise is the need to know. Basic research is also known as fundamental research or discovery research, whereas the applied research is the solution or action oriented research, that is contextual or practical in approach. Let's see fundamental research or basic research. So mainly it is concerned with the generalizations, right? Let's say you tend to formulate a theory. See, nowadays even we can see Gen AI is very much in, right? It started in 2022. It's not even 3 years old. So we can always, it's a very hot potential topic for the research, where you can study the impact of generative AI or chatbots on the cognition or cognitive skills of the students, or brain of the students, or what are the problems, whether the data which this chat gpt is giving, whether that is authentic, or the uses, right? So this would be the fundamental research, because the phenomena has just uh, uh, entered into the world, and again, this is something new on which ongoing research is there, but maybe there is something else which you want to browse. Let's say metaverse is there, right? These are metaverse may because in India metaverse is not there. If somebody is doing research on metaverse, that could be the very basic research, or knowing the perceptions, what do you mean by metaverse. Because once a candidate came to me and I asked him, okay, is the metaverse research feasible in tourism? He said, tourism may metaverse. See, tourism is something when we go for a holiday and we want a privacy, right? We want privacy. We want to take rest. But then again, if somebody is, something, let's say, neurotourism sort of thing I was asking about. So if I'm very, I like privacy, I like, to enjoy the nature, and if somebody is, tracking my eyes, eye movement co tracker, and if somebody is just, putting the, some nodes on my head, so that is something which I don't want. So neurotourism is not a good way to do the research here, especially in Indian context. So that is what, when we go to the market, initially selecting the topic is very important. Nowadays, Gen AI is still used, right? But what about the neurotourism or neuromarketing, which is in very initial stage and not even used, and people are not aware of it? It's better not to plunge into those topics where data collection will be very hard, right? Even metaverse or something, even when movement of the eyes and all that, that is very difficult to measure. So here it is, fundamental research is mainly concerned with the general part, right? Waking up early is good for health, or with the formulation of a theory, let's say, the theory when it was, balanced scorecard theory, right? It could be, it could also be some research related with, the some natural phenomena, or related to pure mathematics or human behavior, let's say Maslow's need hierarchy. So those who are from the management stream or, commerce, they must have read the Maslow's need hierarchy theory, which says, which is about, the human behavior and motivation. He says that human, first they want to, satisfy their basic needs and then go to the higher level needs, which are the self actualization. But nowadays, even, there are, people have used the Maslow's theory, need hierarchy theory, to go for the marketing, or even they have even gone beyond that, right? They came out with some, higher, the needs which are above the self actualization needs, that is transcendence needs, because once you have achieved something, then you want to give it to the society, right? So here, outcome in fundamental research, outcome is not known because it is experimental, it is for the first time you are doing, right? And let's say in science, mostly it is done in the science, where, if suppose you want to know some DNA, some neurotransmitters, some new theories, some new physics or mathematics, or let's say in the chemistry, when you want to mix two salts and then come out with some new formulation, and it's using it, right? So this is fundamental, pure or basic research, generally covered by the science people, and very, it's very rare in our management and the humanities field, because humanities, management, social sciences, what they do, they deal with your perceptions, right? So they deal with the perceptions, and as a result of which, the results may or may not be clear. Then types of research may be, the next part is your exploratory and uh, conclusive research. Exploratory is a loosely structured, right? And it is, again, let's say you want to understand some phenomena, why a fish is behaving in a particular manner. So that, in this case, you would like to go for exploratory research. And conclusive research, which is structured and definite, because these studies are conducted to validate the hypothesis. I'll delve into detail in my subsequent slides. So, exploratory research, that is something which you are doing it for the first time. It is loosely structured, right? It may or may not be successful. Whereas conclusive research, it is well structured and systematic in design. Exploratory is flexible, whereas conclusive has a formal and definite methodology that needs to be followed. In exploratory, at times we just come out with the propositions. We don't go for hypothesis testing, but in most conclusive research, they test the for hypothesis. Hypotheses are, nothing but a set of assumptions which we want to measure. And findings here, they might be topic specific and might not have much relevance outside the researcher's domain. Exploratory may, and here the conclusive, the findings are significant. See, this will help you to clarify. In exploratory, you are unaware of the problem. In descriptive, You're aware of the problem and you're there to find out the solution. And in causal, the problem is clearly defined. Let's say you can read these examples, right? In exploratory, our sales are declining and we don't know why, right? We are not aware of the problem. People are leaving the organization, but we don't know why, right? uh, how Gen AI is impacting the brain of the students or cognitive abilities of the students as well as the teachers, right? Now, even if we want, if though we want to simple write a simple letter, you take the help of Gen AI. So that means your entire brain or cognitive skills are being, very less used. So this is what the reason we have to find. Would people be interested in a new product idea? That is the possible. This is here in exploratory, you are unaware of the problem. You don't know what is the problem, right? And in descriptive, we are aware of the problem. That means what kind of people are buying our product. Let's say you need to do a survey for this. You go to different areas and you find out, okay, what is the demographic profile of the people who are buying our product, who buys our competitors' product. So this is also a descriptive research. And what features do buyers prefer in a product, right? So this is again, you have the product, you product is very much in the market, but yeah, yes, those who have used, they might ask you to modify the features. And causal is problem is again clearly defined. Will buyers purchase most of our products in new packages? And then the problem is that there are two advertisement campaigns, and which one is more effective, right? So this is a very simple, precise difference between exploratory, descriptive, and causal. And in one line, exploratory, you are unaware of the problem, descriptive, aware of the problem, and causal means impact, right? What is the problem is clearly defined. So exploratory research is used when we want to define the problem more precisely. Then, when the variables are there, but they are scattered, and we want to test the relationships. Then we want to gain additional insights. We want to develop the hypothesis, or we want to identify the relative courses of action. So this is what I have told already, exploratory research. Methods of exploratory means survey of experts, right? Let's say, I just gave you the example of a telehealth or telemedicine. When we went to the doctors, they said that part was exploratory. And then nowadays the trend is most of the, studies, they are going for the mixed method study. I'll give you the examples in the form of research papers also. So survey of experts, that means like you go to the people, you ask, okay, what are the problems you are facing? Maybe something new comes out, right? Whether it is social science, whether it is humanities or something like that, you just go for the survey, find out something new, and try to conceptualize or contextualize in your area of research. Next is pilot surveys. Pilot survey, I should say, when we have nothing to start with, right? So it's better to conduct a pilot survey, because when we take the classes of research methodology, the people who have just enrolled, they're very new, right? They don't know, okay, where to go, what to go, and what to do. So we just really suggest, okay, if you have identified the area, just go for a pilot survey, just go for a small survey, so that you can understand whether your study would be feasible or not, right? Because I give you the example of just my own student. We wanted to conduct a research on neurotourism. I just so we went to we did all the bibliometric and all, everything we did. So when she was about to deliver her research proposal, uh, because I asked her, okay, let's speak to the industry experts also. So when we went to the industry, they said neurotourism, you can write the papers, right? No issues. You can write the papers, bibliometric, but you can't do research because you won't be able to get the data from India. Because at present, no hotel, no property, no homestay is going for this part. And then we switched off the topic at the stage of the research proposal and went on the homestay research, because homestay, again, research is again a very novel idea. And um, uh, uh, then we did some then again, um, Fine, homestay was there. Homestay mein we did the research. Then I told her ki, okay, fine, we'll do one thing. Let's talk to the people. Let's talk to the people, because when we search the literature, there are a number of models for this. There is triple bottom line, sustainable development, lot of models are there. But when we spoke to the people, he said ki, yes, homestay, we are into the homestay. Problem is that we have got big houses, and our children don't stay with us. So we are elderly, and or even let's say we are into the 50s or 60s, our children are outside, they are working over there, and the entire home is vacant. So we thought ki, okay, let's convert it to homestay. So this is something new which came out, right? So this is a sort of pilot survey, a survey taken up before the research. Ideally it is in our management or this social sciences research. Pilot survey or pilot study is conducted just after, or when you go for the questionnaire validation. But when you are not sure about the topic, when you're not sure about the concept, so it's better to conduct a short survey, go to the people, and maybe something new comes out, right? Then secondary data, which is analyzed in a qualitative way, that is also your exploratory research. And this is the difference between the qualitative and quantitative, right? uh, you can just read out, I've just explained everything. In data is from open-ended responses, and in quantitative there are precise measurements using structures and validated instruments for data. Yes. And when we go for the data analysis, we study the patterns, we study the features, we study the themes. I'll give you an example, wait, where we both used both qualitative as well as quantitative. Let me check this there. See, this is the research. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So we'll go down. So this is the impact of virtual reality tour experience on tourist intention to visit. We go down. This is the literature review section. We used media richness theory into this. See, the study one, it is exploratory qualitative study, right? So here, what we did was we identify the dimensionalities of telepresence, right? And what were the experiences of the tourists while going for virtual realities, VR. And then see, we wanted to have the dimensions of telepresence and contributions from the VR tour experiences to visit the intention. So here we picked up the destination monastir. It is located in the this country, Tunisia, and where we the other authors, they went and then they collected the data from there. They prepared an interview guide like this. See, interview guide, it comprised of the relevant information. It had 4 parts. The first part presented the research topic, and yes, it's very important when we ensure the anonymization of the answers. The second part comprised of the asking the general experiences, how was your trip, and something their experiences. And then again, we started with the interview process. The interviews were conducted from these they lasted for 30 to 40 minutes, and then this was they were recorded. And from there, this is the interview process. From there we came with the this data analysis and results. And these were the themes which were raised from, yeah, from your qualitative research while taking the uh, interview of 23 participants. So these were the number of citations, means number of citations means the individuals who have visited monster and then who didn't visit monster, right? So this is these were the constructs which came out, and when these variables came out, then see, this is the what, this is their views which we had to write. And then from here we went downstairs, and then down, and we started, yeah, refining the hypothesis on the basis of this, right, on the basis of their experiences and on the basis of the literature review. So we made a section refining the research hypothesis and elaborating the conceptual framework. This was the exploratory part, and hypotheses were framed, and then this was the model which we tested, and finally we go for the confirmatory factor analysis. See, this is the non-response bias, which you'll learn later. This is a demographic profile, and this is like the critical ratio, average variance extracted, and all the um, EF. This is the analysis part, and finally this was the model which came out. This is the model which came out, right? That telepresence has got three constructs: presence, immersion, and realism, and these are the mediating variables. So then this was the implications, because this is, again, this is an example of your mixed method research, where we started with exploratory and went to the descriptive, or where we started from the qualitative and went to the quantitative analysis, right? So a rule of thumb is where to use qualitative and where to use quantitative. Thumb rule is that, use quantitative research if you want to confirm something, right? You have something, let's say you have some theory, you have some framework, or you are building your research on the previous, your conceptual framework or previous research, then you use the quantitative research. And you have to use the qualitative research if you want to understand something like concept, thoughts, and experiences, where you keep on interviewing the candidates, and whether you are doing the experiment, the whatever the research you use, whatever the this whatever, whether you use qualitative or quantitative research, it's always better that first study the research questions, right? Research questions, and then you know go for the descriptive research or doing experimental. It depends on the research questions and your research objectives. So this is the uses which I've already explained: identify, develop hypothesis. I'm going a bit fast from there. Now, conclusive, descriptive also I have explained. The main goal of this type of the research design is to describe the data and characteristics. And causal is, your causal research mostly is experimental in nature and with the reasonable certainty. So this is, again, I've already explained, describe the characteristics of a group. Let's say, the people are not satisfied with their current job and you want to know the reasons, then that there you go for the descriptive research, right? These are the examples of the descriptive studies, where you go for the market potential, market share, sales analysis, likewise. And yes, descriptive research is longitudinal and cross-sectional. Let's say, suppose you have developed some training program and you want to conduct a research on that. So longitudinal is, let's say you have one group, group A, you give some intervention to them, like most of the, medical or science related streams, they go for the longitudinal research. Let's say you design a module uh, let's say you design a yoga module, right? For some specific disease, let's say uh, for women, right? And then you give that intervention to the women, and then you measure the results before and after. So that will be your, longitudinal study. Longitudinal study may you collect the data from the same sample twice, which is again very difficult in the management stream, but in sciences you can, because that research is of very short duration. Let's say you develop a training module, right? You develop a training module of let's say 30 hours, 40 hours. You measure their perceptions before that, and then you go for the, afterwards. Same is longitudinal or something we call it, that time bound research we conducted at the time of the COVID, because somewhere we started in 2020 only, when the universities were shutting down. We just made a questionnaire, small questionnaire, and we circulated among the university employees. That was, before this lockdown, right? Before lockdown, and people were not used to online teaching. But then when the trainings were given, when the lot of trainings were given, then a lot of exercises were given, and when people started teaching them, we sent the same questionnaire modified to the same set of people, and then the results were very different, because this is the research paper which has been already published, right? So this is, again, we call it as longitudinal study, because before the starting of online classes and after the starting of online classes. And cross sectional is where you collect the data only once. See, field studies in longitudinal, there is fixed sample, right? In cross sectional, you can see sample survey T1, and in longitudinal, there is sample is surveyed at two different time periods. If you wish, I can show you that if possible. Stop sharing. Just give me a moment if I can, open that paper for you. Let me check. Yes. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. See, this is the paper. See, this is before and after. You can see this time series analysis, because it here you can read the hypothesis. For example, this is regulator support shall will positively influence university faculty members BI to adopt online teaching during COVID, right? And regulator support influences university faculty members BI to adopt online during COVID pandemic outbreak. So this is before and after, right? I'll show you. See, measurement model of the items before the start of online classes. Table 2. See, this is the estimates and all that, error, critical ratios. These are the variables which we took. Measurement model of the items before the start of online classes, and again the same, this thing. Study 2 was after they started conducting online classes. See this one, table 5. Yeah, this one. Measurement model after conducting online classes. See, before and after, right? When you are used to online classes, and what happened when you conducted online classes. So this is again, what we call as here, we call it time series, because the time was very less. So time was just 15 to 20 days. Otherwise, it goes in years. So this is again surveys, panels, observation, uses of this. I've already explained this to understand the characteristics and estimate the percentages. So again, this is in nutshell, right? Descriptive research. It includes the your surveys and fact finding inquiries. The purpose of descriptive research is description of a state of affairs, right, as it is existing. Here, in descriptive research, you don't have any control over variables, right? So for example, if you want to know the shopping preferences, consumer behavior, which brand is uh, more popular, so it answers your questions what, right? Whereas in analytical research, it is an extension of your descriptive research, right? It is an in-depth research of descriptive phenomena, that is effect of TQM practices on organizational efficiency, right? So here what is this, that you have to use the facts or the information whatever you have, right? Here, in descriptive you have constructs, but you don't have the facts. You are there to find out the facts, but here in you have to use the facts or the information to analyze or to make the critical evaluation, right? Let's say using the data pertaining to a player to reach a conclusion how much to price quote for IPL. Analytical research focuses on analyzing effect of one variable on the another, or checking the relation between more than one variables. But here the descriptive research is there, that where there is the description of the state of affairs, right? It includes a survey to find the facts, whether that facts exists or not, right? It may exist, it may not exist, but here it is analyzing one variable at a time. Similarly is the conceptual research, that is related to some abstract idea or a theory, where you develop the scale. I give you an example now only, because let's say you develop a scale for school teachers using chat GPT or generative AI, right? So you need to pick up a theory and build upon it. And applied research is immediate problem solving, right? Causal. Third part is the causal, means does a change in X causes a change in Y. It is generally done uh, through experiments or field experiments. And here it is, causal research leads to what is the impact of one variable over the other, and generally experimental in nature, whereas you tend to have control over the variables, right? It is done experiments. So this task for the research design is, first of all, what you need to do is you need to define the information, design the exploratory, descriptive or causal phase of the research, specify the measurement and scaling procedures, construct a questionnaire, and then you develop a plan for data analysis, right? So this is an overview. Simple. In exploratory, formulate the problems, develop hypotheses, establish the priorities, and these are the different types. And then in descriptive, generally we go for the surveys, right? And then in causal, where it is most of the time in causal research, it is laboratory or field experiments, where you have the you need to control, you need to, let's say you need to control the sunlight to find out the effect of seed or hybrid seeds or something. So this is how the research design is. Nowadays there is a way of integrated research ecosystem. Integrated research system ecosystem means where you go for the mixed method research. It's not like your analytical research, this can be empirical, right? Applied research can be conceptual, because descriptive can be empirical, because when we use both qualitative and quantitative, Fundamental can also be conceptual, because let's say we are proposing some new theory out of it. So the way integrated means like, see there, the way it is, multi-stage sampling, it is again integrated research ecosystem, where you cannot compartmentalize the research. Compartmentalize means it's not like the exploratory research will remain exploratory in nature only, right? Exploratory research, when we validate, it may become your descriptive. Like I gave you the example of this tourism paper, right? So at the end, now to conclude, it is a blueprint or the arrangement of the conditions for collection and analysis of data. So research design says it is an outline of what the researcher will do from writing a hypothesis to final analysis of the data. Research design comprises of what is this study about, what is this study being made, where will this study be carried out, type of data, who will provide the data, what periods of time. But before that, you need to understand what is the different types of research design, like exploratory design, descriptive design, or causal research design. So this is define again, some sort of your research process. You define the problem, do review the concepts, you formulate the hypothesis, design the research, collect the data, analyze the data, and interpret and report. So these are the features of a good research design, that it should be appropriate, efficient, economical. Yes, economical is, you shouldn't go for the very heavy surveys, because which will require a lot of money to spend, because at the time a PhD has to be completed with limited time frame, it's 3 years, right? So in 3 years you have to complete your survey, whether it is experiment, whether it is data analysis, whether it is publishing the paper, or so many things, right? So it should be economical, uh, and something, which you should be able to, complete it, right? It should be doable research, because see, a crucial stage is why there is RP, crucial, because it's a very crucial research proposal acceptance, because at research proposal stage we formulate the research problem and hypothesis, as well as we frame the objectives. The objectives once framed or freezed in the research proposal, then for your entire 3 years you will be revolving around the those objectives. And well defined objectives, that means completion of your research very smoothly. Once the objectives are not defined properly, then it is very difficult for you, and in between, you won't be able to get the data. The data will not be there. Okay, that even if you get the data, that will be incorrect. Then when the data is incorrect, the results will be incorrect. The results will be incorrect, then you won't be able to achieve the objective. So the 3 years of PhD, they revolve around your objectives. So again, it should have the maximum information. It should specify the sources and type of the information relevant to the research problem, because here research is something, where you find some problem, you identify some problem and find a solution to that problem. And it should include the time and cost budgets also. So, based on addition to knowledge, right, there are three types of research: fundamental, descriptive. Fundamental, we call it exploratory also. So, based on what the research wants to do, that is named as conceptual, and applied, right? And nature of data, qualitative and quantitative, and research design is exploratory, descriptive, or causal, or we call it diagnostic, right? So, this is how the flow goes, right? If it is knowledge, if you want to addition the knowledge, go for the exploratory research design. If it is descriptive analytical, go for descriptive or diagnostic research design. This is the, you know nutshell what I have explained, right? So this is exploratory and descriptive, how you can achieve it. So it has secondary data, qualitative and descriptive. May we have both qualitative and quantitative. Then survey, observation, these are the techniques, right? Focus group, which I've already explained, but it is just in the form of a chart when I've consolidated it. You can have the screenshot of this also. And last is your experimental research design. These studies mainly test the hypotheses that are formulated in the early stage of research, right? Let's say human capital has, it's very rare in our management or this social sciences, but you can have certain, experimental designs in this, but very limited, right? So they are, let's say, sales of the product increase by advertising will increase by enhancing the quality, something like that. Mostly it is done in your sciences research, right? And in experimental research we have pre and post. Means pre post means, like, some intervention you have designed, and then it is again, you give pre, you measure the results, then give some intervention, and then you measure it, afterwards. So then you compare. So experimental design, generally they use t test or this pair techniques to find out the results. But whereas in exploratory and descriptive, we go for the advanced, regression analysis or correlation analysis. This is basic mixed method research designs, where you can see, you can use the qualitative and quantitative both simultaneously. Quantitative data collection and analysis and qualitative data collection and analysis, where we can, relate, compare, right? First we can, have the qualitative quantitative, then we go for quantitative. Let's say you conduct a research on 400 respondents, then 400 respondents of a pharmaceutical companies, right? Ki what, why they are not satisfied with the current job, but that, let's say you list 25 pharmaceutical companies, then you go to the heads. Fine, these are the results which we have received from respondents of your companies. Just validate whether, or just check, what do you think about this. This is, where you are comparing and relating the results of both, and we are interpreting, right? And explanatory, sequential means, first you conduct quantitative, then follow up with the quantitative. And exploratory sequential means qualitative followed by quantitative. So this is all about today's session. You can please unmute yourself and ask questions. Yes.